Thank you for listening to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Please support the show by subscribing to and leaving a 5-star rating for the show on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, and any of your favorite podcast platforms. You can also support the show by going to our website, blackandgoldhockey.com, where there's always exciting articles by the B&G writing staff. While you're there, don't forget to click on the fanatics.com banner for a great sports fan shopping experience.
Hey, are you done yet? We gotta start the show.
Behind the net to Sanderson, Orr! Bobby Orr! Scores for the Boston Bruins!
30 seconds left in the period. The Bruins are shorthanded. Ray Bourque from the face-off circle to the right of Reggie Whitman. Fired it down, and Whitmore blew it.
Did he ever?
To Bergeron on the drive, save, rebound, he's loose, Sagan kicks him loose, Bergeron scores! Patrice Bergeron, with the point of the dagger in their throats, they rip it out of Toronto's hands and kill the beast! The Boston Bruins have won it after being 3 down in the third!
Welcome to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast, presented by the Black and Gold Productions Hockey Podcast Network and sponsored by Bet Online. Go to betonline.ag and enter code CLNS50. It is episode 210. Today is January the 3rd, 2021, our first episode of the year. And our first episode of the 2021 hockey season. It has arrived. I am Matt Barry. And I am joined each week by Heather Ingerson. Hello, Heather.
Hello. Hi, Matt. How are you today?
Good. Excited for hockey. And our founder and CEO, Mark Allred. Hello, Mark.
What up? How's it going, guys? Feeling good?
Great.
Feeling good?
Feeling excited.
Great.
Feeling
That's
very
awesome.
excited.
Before we do the ad read, I just want to shout out to a couple things. It's a new year, and we're moving in a whole bunch of different directions with the Black and Gold sports media company. We dropped the new B&G Weekly on YouTube. John Duncan, he recently joined us. Please go to YouTube and subscribe to the Black and Gold Weekly YouTube channel. That dropped on Friday. He had a great interview with an awesome guest. And we're also going to be working with a new mid-show sponsor. And his name is Bruce Sullivan, and he is the founder and CEO of Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. So these are where I get all the jerseys, folks. So great prices, discount prices for hand-signed jerseys. And we also, Patreon giveaways towards the end of the show. We will mention 2 winners. We're doing 2 winners because I got some timely gifts that need to go out as soon as possible to our faithful Patreon members. So I think that's all I needed to say. And yes, it is. So we're all set.
Awesome. Big episode coming up today. Of course, training camp begins and the season just around the corner for the Bruins. We'll talk about the roster that has been sort of leaked out for the training camp, and also the departure of the captain, and so much more coming up. But first, Mark has some information about Bet Online.
Are we ready for some football? College football heads into bowl season, and there are some big matchups this weekend. NFL regular season is finishing up with the playoff picture becoming clearer. There is only one place that has you covered and one place that we trust, betonline.ag. Sign up today for a free account at betonline.ag and use code CLNS50 for your 50% welcome bonus. There's football coming up. Hockey's coming up in 11 days. There's so much stuff that's coming around, and you should be using BetOnline for your wagering needs. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore. Get in the action. Don't forget to use that promo code CLNS50 and receive a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. BetOnline.ag, your online wagering experts.
Awesome. And I signed up for Bet Online this week, and I've been raking it in a little bit with the NBA. So
Look at
there
you.
you
Look
have
at
it.
you
There
styling.
you have it. Yeah. So I got my 50%. I dropped in $60, got 30 free. So that works, and that puts a little bit in the kitty so that you can play with some house money. So that's
Nice.
great.
Nice.
So first item on the agenda, the captains, Zdeno Chara, 14 seasons with the Bruins, acquired in 2006, and he's been just everything as advertised and more. He's given everything he's had to the organization. He leaves for the Washington Capitals, a one-year deal for $795,000, and more than likely a more of the same type of role he's had here with the Bruins, rather than some of the unknown as far as his role would be here with the Bruins. And I think it was time for the Bruins, in their minds anyway, to move on from him. And it's sad to see Chara go. And you're always sad. Tom Brady was sort of the same way. You're always sad to see a guy who's been around so long, into his 40s, just about done with his career, to move on to another city and another team, another organization. Almost seems like it's unnecessary. But Chara thinks he can still give a lot. And so he moves on to Washington. So I didn't know, your thoughts on this. I'm sad by it, but I also understand from the Bruins perspective as well. So Heather, we can start with you on Z and what your thoughts were on that news.
First of all, thank you, Zdeno Chara. Not that you're probably going to listen to this, but in case you do, you've been a hell of a captain. So whether you like him defensively, I'm looking at you, Mark Allred.
My God, are you breaking out already?
Whatever. No, I'm just saying that Chara, it's not just, people say things, but Chara really changed the culture. I think we're all at an age that we remember we're too young really to live the glory of the 70s Bruins. And we were just perpetually watching ourselves get knocked out by Montreal probably every year, so we always were competitive, but we weren't the team to want to be. And thank you, Zdeno Chara, for changing that, because I remember when he got signed, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting and maybe awesome. And it was. So it sucks the way it went down. And we have a lot of other, we'll probably circle back to this, but I do just want to say thank you, because this team is a hot mess a little bit, in transition, whatever. It wasn't that long ago, me and Mark were sitting here going, we're not in a rebuild, we're in a retool. No, we're in a rebuild. That's fine. Okay. I'm just a little disappointed about how it all went out, because even though we knew Kruger might leave and that Chara might not be back, and we all, even Mark, you agreed in the beginning, he'd probably back one more year, you know what I mean? Call it a thing. It went down weird. I'm disappointed, but I'm happy that he didn't settle, if he thinks he can still go. I'm also just concerned about, it's a big hole to fill in a locker room, not just size wise, so good luck to Z and good luck to this organization trying to replace our captain.
For me, I just want to mention, I totally forgot because I'm a hot mess today as usual. We have Craig Eagles on as an interview, and we did talk about the defense, and that's going to come on up after the hour, the mid-show commercial. So I just want to add that in. For me, Z, when he came to the Boston Bruins from the Ottawa Senators, it was a Peter Chiarelli friggin' signing. Immediate captain. That was a request by him. I was a little pissed off about that, because I think you have to earn the C on your shoulder. On your chest, whatever. But, as you see him work and how he worked with others on the team, especially the youth, really changed my mind about that. And I respected that he came out and said, this is what I want. But he had a good career. I'm not going to shit on the guy at all for what he did for Boston. But it just came down to, the game is getting faster, and in my opinion, and this needed to be done. His minutes and his role needed to be changed. Don Sweeney and staff reached out to him, an agent, before Christmas, and made him an offer of $1.5 million, which I thought was a little high, at least $500,000 high, but he declined it because he didn't want to go down to the third pairing role and possibly be a seventh rotating defenseman. Respected. The guy still wants to play. Matt, you were absolutely right on when you said that. But it's just, that's the way it goes. if you want to be a Bruin for your last season, potentially last season, suck it up, guy. Let's go. Let's go play. Be that leader at a diminished role. So he goes to Washington and everybody freaks out. Everybody absolutely lost their shit because they don't do the internet properly. He's the one that chose to move on. It wasn't the organization that forced him to do this. They see it as a diminished role, and it was time to move on. So I'm completely fine with what happened. Thank you very much for your service. I really appreciate everything that you've done. The culture, as Heather said, it was unbelievable, but this is just something that had to be done. And I'm very happy the Boston Bruins did not cave into his demands.
Yeah, and I agree. And I really love Chara. I love everything he represents. I love what he's done for the organization. He legitimized the organization when they got him. When they signed him, that was the first like big time free agent where you thought, now they really mean business. Like it was always when we were younger, like they're just not doing enough to get the one extra player or the big time talent, spending the money to win. That was the first sign that, boy, they really are serious about winning. And then 5 years later they won, and 3 years later they were among the top teams in the league. I mean, they were right there many years in this 14-year run from him. And I agree that when you dump the puck in now, he can't go back and get it. And the one thing that irritated me most about him recently was hanging on to the puck until the last minute and then trying to make like the perfect pass to the guy or whatever, and then getting into no man's land and having to inevitably turn it over or flip it to no man's land, or that he just didn't move it quickly enough, move himself or the puck quickly enough for my taste. Now, what is ironic is that the one thing that I'm uneasy about is that they really don't seem to have much of. They don't have it's not like they have 6 quality defensemen, veteran defensemen, and there's just no room for him. They have unknowns and young players, so I think they would have brought him back. And like you said, Mark, I think if your pride gets in the way, his pride gets in the way, and he just can't take the role. But I think, based on the roster now, he probably would have been in the second pair or maybe even the first pair by a month in, because some young kid's not going to cut it, not going to produce, or someone's going to get hurt, or Grizzlick's going to get hurt. And then who do you put there? So he probably would have crept up the line anyway, but he just didn't want to take it from the beginning, which is fine. I mean, that's his right. I mean, he's earned that right. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, that's fine. But I just don't know. I guess pride and ego is a big factor. I just don't know if I'm in that situation. Like, I'd rather just retire as a Bruin, take my farewell tour, and go to the Hall of Fame, put my number in the rafters, and so be it. Why is it really worth it to go to Washington for a season? Like, and it's not like Washington's on the downside. It's not like he's going to Colorado and trying to get or Vegas and trying to get a cup before he's out. I mean, Washington is not, in my opinion, is not a cup contender. I mean, they're like in the second tier right now. So I see it both ways. I also scratch my head when it comes to athletes who do this. I love Chara, and I really have a hard time saying bad things about him, but his pride and ego has gotten in the way of really having self-awareness and understanding where he is right now in his career. So
Sorry, I was going to say, this just goes back now that you brought up ego. And this is just something I keep, because as I said, I spent the last few days how to have a discussion without having a fight, because, no one wants to fight here. We're here to talk, and, could be a little snippy sometimes, but I don't think it's Zdeno Chara's ego that's getting in the way at this point. We're going to talk about Neely and Sweeney and how, yes, I totally agree. The fan base melted down on them for like ridiculous this week, for not necessarily, but as it goes, I want to play two truths and a lie for a minute. A tale of two pressers. Let's sign Kevin Miller, and then before you say anything, see Torrey Krug giving a press conference as a St. Louis Blue. Those two press conferences didn't quite match up on how they said. And let's be honest, internet or no internet, none of us are in the room. The only people who know are the people in the room, the agents, the whoever. And yes, there has been some people who said, so let's play two truths and a lie. After that, we were all going, this sounds weird, right? So again, this goes to you saying the Jacob, saying how people are always like the Jacobs of cheap. No, the cap is the cap, right? And the Jacobs very rarely since Peter Chiarelli have really stepped in and said no or yes to a player. They've kind of let management do whatever they want. So let's play two truths and a lie the other day. Now, Zdeno Chara is not 29. He's Zdeno Chara. He's not going to say anything particularly bad. But if we're going to play who's telling the truth, and I hear Sweeney say, we just want to go younger and faster, and like we offered this, but then you have Chara say, they told me out that they want to go younger, and I respect that. I'm believing Zdeno Chara's word over Don Sweeney's at this point. And that just goes to what Mark had said about people flipping out. I think that's part of what the flip out is. Maybe it's not, obviously it is Z as our captain is now in Washington, like you said, a team that's on the backside. But if you think Washington can't up punch and maybe win the Stanley Cup, you're wrong. It's like Pittsburgh, when it gets to playoff time, you're always like, oh God, like, they'll figure out how to get there. So I just wanted to say, and this goes to the Sweeney and whatever, I don't think it's necessarily the players' egos that are getting in the way. And I only think that because there's nothing, I am going to trust that some of these kids can step into these roles, but I also am looking at the choices and thinking anybody who's not looking at, even if you sign Chara cheap or you figured out how to keep Krug, that this defense hasn't taken a serious step back, is in denial. Like, I'm all for, we can agree we're in a rebuild or whatever, but like, if you honestly think you wouldn't rather have Zdeno Chara one more year or a Torrey Krug, yeah. So that's all I want to say. I don't think it's the players' egos necessarily that are getting in the way at this point. Sorry, I don't mean to digress. It's just, I have to say that.
Good. It's a good point. It's a good point.
What troubles me is the fact is that he's going to Washington for the same role that the Boston Bruins offered him, and at $750,000. So there's a lot of vague issues that are going on with this conversation. And I've reached out to some sources myself, and I've gotten the feeling that I think that what happened to Torrey Krug might have put an awful taste in some of these players' mouths. That could be that I just want to move on. I'm tired of this crap that's going on. So it is what it is. But anybody out there that's thinking that he's going to be a top pairing defenseman in Washington, sorry. I mean, you got to do your due diligence and ask some of these people that cover the Washington Capitals on a regular. Reach out and ask them, because he's not. He's not.
No, he's not. No, he's not. I mean, he's certainly not playing with Carlson, and he's probably going to play with like Dmitry Orlov or someone, and who knows, third pair, maybe second pair if people get hurt or whatever. But it's probably there around the same role. That's what I'm saying about the role would have been roughly the same with the Bruins if someone gets hurt. I mean, he just, he's durable. He'll play all the time, so he'll be in there at some point. I will say this though, and this is to your point, Mark, that the hometown discounts are no longer like Don Sweeney's been getting away with grand theft larceny when it comes to getting his own players to sign deals that are below market value. Pastrnak, Marchand, even Bergeron. I mean, when Krejci and Rasker are only two $7 million players, and Chara's been taking an incredible discount over the years. Those aren't happening anymore because you're seeing it now. Krug didn't take it. Chara's not taking it. And now, when Krejci comes up, he's not taking it. And people are talking about Krejci. What's going to happen with him? It's going to come down to what Krejci believes his value is and what the team believes his value is. And I guarantee you it's not the same. So the hometown discount, all that, the one great thing that Sweeney has done as general manager has been able to re-sign players at below market value. If that's taken away, then what do you have left with him? And that's a big story coming up, is if that's taken away from him, now is he any type of general manager that you want to have with the team? And it's a fair question because that's the one positive he brings. And if that's taken away, so next item on the agenda is, now that Z is gone and the captaincy is up in the air, will Patrice Bergeron accept the captaincy this season? Now, back when Joe Thornton was traded mid-year, the team decided that they would leave a captaincy open for the rest of that season. Jason Allison was on the team. I think it was Brian Leach was on the team at the time, and they decided not to take any captaincy role, and that was mid-season. So I'm wondering if Bergeron would keep it vacant for a year. And I didn't know, Mark, your thoughts on. It's obviously going to be Bergeron, but what is that a possibility? I guess
That is the obvious choice. I mean, he's just a prototypical, just a superstar that I believe deserved it a long time ago. But I don't want to get into that. But I also think that he's the type of silent leader that might want to not accept it and give the opportunity to a younger player that's going to be around a lot longer. Bergeron's got 2 more years on his contract, I believe. I just don't know if that's. I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to speculate right now. But I mean, the obvious choice for me, yeah, it is to go to him. But just not knowing him and not being around him, but hearing all the people talk about him and so on, it just seems like that he gives the opportunity to somebody like a McAvoy or Carlo or somebody that's going to be around a lot longer.
I actually think that he may not accept the captaincy and prefer they all share alternate. Remember, like Middleton and Bork did that one year, like there was a home cat, but like just maybe everybody on the team's got the A. Let's see who sinks and swims. Let's see, but I think that seems more Patrice Bergeron style because there was arguments before Chara got here that he should have been the captain, and I think there's a reason Patrice, besides Chara's been here as long with him, it's a weird question because effectively that window we've been talking about for winning another cup has effectively been slammed shut, at least like on the surface, like as you can see, you know what I mean? We got core players left, not a thing. I think Bergeron would probably leave it open and then his last year wear the C for 1 year. Do you know what I mean? So he's almost like the greatest Bruins captain only to ever wear the jersey for 1 year. You know what I mean? The official C. That's just my thoughts on it. It makes me sad thinking about Bergeron leaving now with everything that's going on and thinking, is Bergeron going to make 2 years? Are we going to trade him for like a something? I don't know.
But it's a little scary. I think Bergeron, if he may say, let's keep it open for a shortened season out of respect for Chara, and he may keep it open, have 3 assistants. I think naturally, though, he accepts the captaincy and Marchand becomes an assistant captain, and Krejci and Marchand are the assistant captains. And naturally, Bergeron is the captain. If not, then they keep it open for a year and they have 3 assistant captains. I don't know. I mean, it's professional sports. I don't get big on the whole captaincy thing. I think, back when the Red Sox had Jason Varitek as captain, I thought it was the silliest thing in the world. But, it's professional sports. It's not high school. It's not, but I do value what Bergeron brings to the table, obviously, and he's the obvious choice. If he doesn't get it, it'd be silly not to give it to him. The only way he doesn't is if he just declines it for the season, or like you say, gives another person an opportunity and comes out publicly and says, this person deserves it more than me or something. But I would imagine Bergeron will be the captain. It may not be this year though. It may leave it vacant. So we'll see. Speaking of Neely and Sweeney, the next item on the agenda is your poll, Heather.
Yes.
On Neely and Sweeney, and give us all the details. Give it to us hard.
All right. So for those of you who are not on Twitter and saw this, this is just this fan base is so cannibalistic, and it's like I'm already mad enough about the Chara thing, and now I'm watching us be idiots towards each other. Like it is. We are the stupidest fan base. I swear to God. Sometimes I just want to like that glass picture.
No
but anyways, this was how do we feel about things right now? Fire Neely and or Sweeney. I'm thinking at least or just kidding. No, love them both, but mad, mostly dazed and confused. Everyone simmer down now. And with 47% of the vote, simmer down now won. Okay. You like that?
I voted for that one.
Yeah. Well, I'm personally in the mostly dazed and confused because I have followed Don Sweeney for the last 40 damn years of, whatever, not like really that long, but 20, 35 years at least almost, I believed you were the man with the plan. And now, because I have no solid left side defense, basically not looking at you, Grizz, I'm just saying. Now I'm like, what the fuck is the plan, Don? I'm not feeling like you're Sweeney. I'm feeling like this state college kid has a bigger brain than you, because even with no hockey experience, it seems ridiculous. But yes, I'm happy to report most of us think everyone simmer down and take a breath, because I'm not sure people need to get fired yet. Although I am saying in hopefully July, if for some reason we're in the cup final. I'm not saying someone might not get fired up there, though.
Yeah, I agree. Look, Sweeney came out. The worst thing he did is to come out at the beginning of the offseason and say, we have to make some hard looks at our roster and make some changes, and then sign one guy essentially, or two guys if you include Greg friggin' McKegg, and then let two core guys walk. So what changes did you make? And again, Bruins fans are still looking at they're looking now at Pierre-Luc Dubois, like they're just dying for something to happen. Like they think there's no way nothing can happen because Sweeney told us. So every guy who comes up in free agency, Ben Hutton in trade talk or free agency, and Mike Hoffman, and every single guy who's come in has been linked to the Bruins somehow. And I'm not sure if it's the organization or the fan base who links them, because they just want something to happen. And I think that Sweeney is caught in what he said he wouldn't get himself into, is that tug of war between, are we contenders or are we moving on? And when you get caught in between, you stunt your growth forward. You hang on to what you think you may have with this core, and you have a toe in the water, but you really don't commit. So now you're the worst thing in the world, which is above average. That's the worst thing, because you get terrible draft position and you lose in the second round or first round every year. Like that's the worst place to be. So you either rebuild and really make some serious changes, make a big trade, big signing, and really change the core of your group, or you don't, and you risk. If this was the case, if they still believed in the core, they would have signed Krug and Chara and squeezed every bit of life out of this. But they didn't. So they're in between. They're saying, well, we're going to move on from Chara and Krug because we really don't want to commit to them long term. But then we'll sign Kevin Miller 2 minutes into free agency and celebrate it like it's friggin', Ray Bork coming back to Boston. Like it doesn't make any sense. There's some contradictions there. Don Sweeney, the only thing he can hang his hat on right now is below market value for his re-signings of his own players. That's really all he has. And the Charlie Coyle, Marcus Johansson trades, which he didn't re-sign Johansson for, so I give him half credit for that. So Charlie Coyle and below market value for re-signing his players. So that's really, because his drafts are stunk. So I don't know. I don't know, Mark, you tell me what you believe in this, but I'm getting to the point now where I thought I was sort of an apologist for Sweeney and Neely and thinking, boy, they've got a cup contender. Like, what do people want? But now I'm getting nervous that they can't turn the page and reload without crashing and burning first.
I'm totally on board with this is all ownership. This is ownership sending a message down to the worker bees. And that's pretty much it. I don't really want to speculate much on it, but that's what that's what you can see in the underlying. It's right. Just, they come out and say that they're doing one thing. Neely says another thing, and then they don't do anything. So I think that both of them get a slap on the hand after after their season ending conferences. So
I think they lack. So what they're saying is no long-term commitments. We'll give Craig Smith a longer term commitment, but it's at 3.1 a year. Like it was a really good value. Like that's not going to hinder you, but they're not going Ekman Larson and Pietrangelo and guys with big. Now I'm worried about Charlie McAvoy. What happens there? I mean, that's dangerous. That's scary, because if I'm Charlie, I'm like putting my foot in the sand and saying 8 million, baby, start right there. 4 or 5 years, start there. So I don't know. I'm concerned, to say the least.
Yeah, no, I that's my whole thing is that, again, this is another, let's live in like that, a world where we live in the NHL and not just in our comfortable little bubble of Bruins land. The rest of the league right now is looking at the Bruins. Like, although, yes, the Kevin Miller signing and Chara not getting signed are two independent things, but not when you also let Torrey Krug walk. And what I, as a fan, and actually people on other team and other executives see is you re-signed a defenseman that didn't play for 2 years and you guarantee him X amount of millions of dollars, but you did not re-sign. Chara at his worst has been more serviceable, slow and old, or whatever you want to argue, than a Kevin Miller has. And I would say generally as a career, and nothing against Kevin Miller, even though everyone knows how I feel about him, but that is why people are baffled. There are other teams right now looking at us that are baffled about these moves. Craig Smith, solid signing. Yes. But with your blah, blah, blah over here and letting everybody walk here and there or whatever, now you just we don't have Joakim Nordstrom or Zdeno Chara, two of our best penalty killers. Thank you. You've let our special teams go to holy, like whatever. And like, okay, so on the power play, I am confident that like Grizzlick and McAvoy and them will help. You know what I mean? Like we should be all right on that end, as long as when Marchand's healthy and Pasta's healthy, everything's going to be all right on that end. But our PK was better than our power play last year. And I don't want to go back to, I mean, Zdeno Chara, even in his limited minutes, was still 21 minutes a game. Like, it's not like he was playing so diminished. He's hanging on like he's going to be up John Michael Lyles or whatever, like sat on the 9th floor for 3 seasons on a contract. You know, I think this is Don Sweeney and Cam Neely aren't helping themselves. And it could be pressure from the top or whatever, but I think it's not creating a good environment. Maybe we, can't sign big name free agents because we don't have shiny enough toys to bait them. That's why we always have to give up a first or second round, because maybe the rest of the world is not as confident. And sometimes you move a player, they pop off, that's fine. Right. But now we don't have the reason people came here and took the $2 million contracts. We don't have Zdeno Chara's. We don't have that. Everyone knows Bergeron's probably going to retire in 2 years because his body has been through hell and he's only 35 or whatever. You know, these kind of things. Is Pasta going to be enough to hold that environment together? Because again, him and McAvoy, these are boys that deserve their 10 mil once they've earned, you know, before their careers are over. And that is concerning. Like I said, I'm not trying to push the panic button, Mark, but I'm getting a little panicky about what the vision is, what the vision board is looking like.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, what does it say when to Brad Marchand and to David Pastrnak, who took lesser money, and Brandon Carlo took a bridge deal with lesser money, and Charlie McAvoy did the same thing? What does it say to them when you don't give the money to Torrey Krug, their buddy, and Zdeno Chara, their you know, his Charlie McAvoy's mentor? What does it say to them when you don't give Chara 1 more year, or you play hardball with him and you play hardball with Krug and you let them go? What does it say to them who just took lesser money because you told them, you bought them in with the, we're going to do everything we can to be in contender. If you take less money, we can give money to somebody else. That's not the case. So now when Charlie comes back to the table and Brandon Carlo comes back to the table and, you know, David Krejci comes to the table, what happens then? You know, so, and you don't have a real backup plan. You better hope Jack Stanika is a stud. You know, you better hope that, Jesus, I don't know, John Beecher is, I mean, what do you have in the pipeline to, you know, you drafted 3 guys who aren't going to play for 4 years. So what are you doing? So I agree. It doesn't mesh all together. And it's scary to think that you had people take lesser money and then saw their teammates leave because you didn't pay them. So that's a slippery slope. That's dangerous. And you mentioned defense, Heather. And the next item on the agenda is, how does the defense move forward? What's it look like? I'm going to give you my 3 pair right now. That's going to happen. That is my prediction. It's going to be Grizzlick McAvoy. It's going to be John Moore, Brandon Carlo, and it's going to be Jeremy Lauzon, Connor Clifton, with the 7th guy being Kevin Miller. And if that doesn't make you horny, I can't help you. So there you go. There's your 3 pair, and that's weak sauce. So yeah. I don't know what your thoughts on it.
there are a few things that make me less horny than thinking about that being my
right. Well, that's good, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely put the Cialis away on that one, big guy.
Yeah. You don't need it.
I can't. I don't know whether to laugh or cry or throw up because I'm like, it's not good.
Yeah.
I agree with you on the Lozon and the Clifton thing. Okay. I think Kevin Miller will be injured game 2, so I'm not worrying about him. I heard someone call him Trisket knees, which is so wrong, but such a good explanation.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not making fun. Like, this dude has been through hell and back. He is a warrior, and I will always give him that credit. I just don't want you on my defense. I've never prayed for someone to go on the 9th floor that hard. I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking at this roster. I know we're going to talk about training camp roster, and I'm like, I want to punch Don Sweeney in the face. We are one of the best, even with our little defensemen or whatever, we're still one of the best defenses in the league. And now we're maybe, and I'm glad it's only 56 games, but guarantee you at the trade deadline, we're not going out to get a defenseman if none of these dudes work out to be like not John Moore. Cause honestly, at least John Moore, like whatever, like it's only, at least you can get him as 40 games and we'll move forward to the the Seattle draft. I don't know, guy. I'm a little worried, but if McAvoy and Grzelcyk are not the top pair, I am going to lose my shit. I'm just like they are all day long, your stud first line. Start working them that way because Grizz isn't getting younger, right? And McAvoy now needs to, we're going to see what happens, and like you said, hopefully he doesn't get priced out and he still wants to be here and be our next big D-man. That's my thoughts, Mark. I can't talk about this defense.
I am actually looking forward to this defense because it's young. We're moving on. I think this is a very big transition year for the Boston Bruins, especially on defense. So my guys are at the top. I would like to see, and this is just a personal preference, don't freak out. But I would like to see possibly McAvoy, Lozon, and then Grzelcyk, Carlo, and then Clifton and Zboril. That's my and I'm sorry if I'm getting the left shots wrong. Somebody friggin' hammered me for that one.
That's right.
No, that sounds right to me.
That's right on it. Yeah.
All right, because I the left right shots I just don't get it. But that's my decor right there.
That's an interesting group. Yeah.
You reminded me of something, Mark, I wanted to bring up. There's been some people talking about how, and he's not a right side D. Well, fuck you. Torrey Krug played fucking 7 of his 9 years on his offside, but you know what he got? He got his money and he did his fucking job. So if any of these young kids, I'm not mad at you guys. Like I said, I will give you a chance. I am just not feeling either A, you're ready or you're not. Like I said, I don't feel our toys are necessary. I think Jeremy Lozon is going to be okay. There aren't all of them. I feel that way. I also aren't convinced they're ready to put on the roles they need to take on this year. And thank God it's only 56 and it hopefully is just a transition year to either dump people out, get people, whatever. But actually, so shut up. Yes. If Zboril, who I like Zboril, I think he's a good style. I was thinking maybe him with Carlo, but that's just me. Who knows what will happen out of camp. They have to play the right side if they're a left shot. Fine. Like, why is that a big deal? Like, stop coddling people too. Like, you're a professional athlete. There are plenty of people who grow up a center that end up a right wing and have a perfectly fine career about it, Speaking of that, if anything, even if our defense is a mess at the trade deadline, this is the plan. We dump Nick Ritchie. We move Andre Kasha to the left side. We get Jaromir Jagr, a proven right wing that knows how to win Stanley Cups.
All right.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So now let's keep your blood pressure right there, Heather, and discuss Matt Philippe taking number 47. You have 15 seconds. Go
15 seconds.
Go ahead. Time me. This is what I have to say to this. First of all, do I expect 47 to be retired to the rafters in Torrey Krug? No. Absolutely not. But it has been 3 months.
15.
And you haven't replaced his cold, dead body on this side. So show a little respect. Why don't you give him Stanika's old number? I'm just saying. Another thing that really, it's like, are you saying fuck you to your fan base? I'm not really sure. And I'm not blaming Matt. It's not his fault. That's what he gave him. He probably was like, ooh, this is going to be awkward walking in that locker room the first time after this mess, especially given Chara's gone. It's going to be a weird environment in there, boys. Let's be honest.
Well, luckily they gave it to a guy who won't sniff the NHL roster
No,
this
that's
year.
my thing.
So,
I'm not
Yeah.
mad at him.
so that's
It's just a number, nothing to get crazy about.
Philippe is a interesting prospect, though. I mean, they
No,
picked
he's-
him
I
up,
like
signed him.
It's fine.
Northeastern kid. He's interesting. All right. So now that leads us to the next item, which is the training camps opening today. And who got invited? Are there any surprises? I thought Jack Ashan was a surprise. I thought that was a pleasant surprise. They're really high on him. They see him as a poor man's, or people see him as a poor man's Torrey Krug type of player. So that was a nice little addition. I think Lantosi was on there. Some other guys that obviously with COVID, you load up the training camp roster a bit more than usual. Probably guys get more of a chance than maybe you thought, and especially with the defense question marks that they have. Akanainen was in there. This is a big year for him. He's a guy who really doesn't get talked about it much anymore. When he was talked about quite a bit a couple of years ago as a top prospect, this is a big year for him to try to turn it around and get back in the mix, and certainly an opportunity for him. So I didn't know if there were any. Mark, you're the prospect guy. Tell us who you were pleasantly surprised by, I guess.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by the Philip and Ashan, but it is training camp. They do have the right to come up and show their skills to management with a mixed group of NHL pros. It's just a good experience. I'm not gonna buy into he's gonna earn a roster spot. I think that he still needs more pro development. So some ones that I found weird that were not involved, and shout out. I'm not always right, but I like to pat myself on the back. But Peter Cehlarik did not make the trip over. I got a lot of shit for that. So shit sandwich to all you people, all the haters out there. Victor Berglund did not make it over. He's going to continue to stay over in Sweden. Jakob did not make it over. He's going to stay in the Czech Republic. Kyle Kaiser did not make it up from Jacksonville. He's going to stay in the East Coast Hockey League. So there's some interesting things. Callum Booth was called up. I believe that he's going to be the third goaltender to give Vladar much needed professional time down in Providence. Yeah, I mean, it's training camp. It's going to be winded down. Once this roster gets down from 40 down to 20 something, I think you're going to see the next level. The AHL, we're going to talk about that later. But these guys will go down to the Providence camp, and then the guys that don't make the Providence camp are going to go down to East Coast Hockey League. So it's just a filtering effect for right now. But just to get those taxi squads and the extra roster players for the COVID Cup.
I did see Nick Wolf on there as a defenseman. Yeah. Steven Kampfer's on there, but I heard he opted out again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he'll be down to 11D. And Callum Booth was brought in probably because, as part of the reason why they wanted to bring Kaiser down, is to put Booth in there. And then there's Oscar Steen as a guy who I've been keeping my eye on. He's playing well. He's a guy who has some ability and some upside that I'd like to see maybe the following year, really making some strides and seeing what he can bring. That might have been a decent steal of a draft pick in Steen. I don't know, Heather, if you had anybody on there who you'd like to see.
I was not really surprised by the list. I'm obviously happy that Cehlarik isn't there. I've made very clear how I feel about the Peter Cehlarik over the years. I actually was pleasantly surprised to see Lantosi there. I'm a little sad because normally Mark and I go to training camp, or I at least go with them like 1 or 2 days of the 4 days or whatever, like in a traditional, warm-up camp season or whatever. But I was happy kind of see him. And you know what? I need a left shot defenseman. Maybe Nick Wolf's going to slot in. We don't know. Like you said, maybe Jaro Vakanainen's not going to come to play because he knows that he's getting edged out. But no, there wasn't really a lot of more. Mark was right on with the goaltenders, though. He called it like a couple weeks ago about who was going to be there. And that's all I could think when I was jotting it down.
Yeah.
But I'm really not too many people that shock me. Again, like some people I know, like, Jack Akan, like we know that he's probably not making the thing, but it's nice that he gets to come to camp and check out and see what's going on. Right. I was interested to ask Mark, right? We're going to maybe disagree a little on who might make the actual roster, but who is your who are you leaning towards when you see this list? Because I can't figure out my taxi squad because I'm just, my brain is literally shorting out. I can't work it out of what's going on with my team or what I want to happen. So any thoughts on that? Who's your taxi squad?
Go ahead.
I haven't really thought about the players. I haven't had time to think about that. But I mean, Urho, Zboril, all these guys can be a part of that. So might be a discussion for next week with a little more time.
Yeah, I think, Nick Krejci is a guy that I really don't want to see anywhere near the puck. And he won't be near the puck anyway, but on the ice anyway. And Par Lindholm is probably going to play because of the penalty killing situation with what's his name gone from Nordstrom, gone from the season, from the team last season. So he's a PK guy. Anders Bjork, Jack Stanika, Zach Senyshyn, all big years for them. I can't believe Anton Bleed's still in the organization. Paul Carey is 100 years old. Cam Hughes is an interesting prospect, but I think you're going to see. I'd like to see again Smith with Coyle and Bjork, and I'd like to see Corrali, Wagner, and Frederick, and I'd like to see those as the bottom six lines. And Carson Kuhlman is another guy. Big year for him. I mean, they'll have to cut bait on some of these guys pretty soon. So Kuhlman and Senyshyn and are two guys, and Anton Bleed. But those guys are on the last legs as far as I'm concerned. It's either put up or shut up or go somewhere else time for those guys. So as far as making the cut, we'll talk about it more next week and see what we have. But I think you're going to see, as far as the forwards are concerned, the usual suspects in there. And then, of course, I don't know what happens with Greg McKegg, but he's going to be a guy to bring in, healthy scratch, bring him in, rough guys up, play down in the AHL if there is one, that type of thing. So next item on the agenda, with some of the core members departed, do you actually think David Krejci and Tuukka Rask return after this season? So they're both coming into their final year of unrestricted free agency next year, both at $7 million per, roughly, and both around the same age. Krejci's been here 14 seasons. I said what I said earlier about Krejci. I think the value isn't going to mesh in the beginning from the Bruins' perspective and Krejci's perspective. And then Tuukka, I really think, is leaning towards retirement. So I didn't know, Heather, I'm uneasy because, David Krejci 2 years ago, here's the thing with David Krejci. 2013, they lose the Cup Finals to the Blackhawks. I said then that they should trade him in that offseason. Now, looking back, it's a little foolish probably, but I thought they should cut bait on him, sell high, get a ton, and really make a change to the roster and get some added pieces that could extend there. Now, they extended it anyway by getting to 2020 as a Cup contender. But I thought at the time they should cut bait on him because I thought he was slowing down then. He is slower. He's never been a speed demon, but he's such a great playmaker, and he added so much to the power play in the postseason that I think I would entertain having him back a year or two. I'd sign him probably 2 years max. So I don't know, Heather, your thoughts on Krejci and Rask?
I think Tuukka's retiring after the season. I think he is going to finish out his contract. He's probably a little relieved it's only 56 games. And I think it would be hard for him. He'd have to take a major pay cut, both of these players, right? But given the fact that, yes, Mark almost worded this topic perfectly, given the way that some of these core members have walked away, you know what I mean? Or been forced to, chose to, whatever the circumstances. I mean, I don't think David Krejci is going to want $7 million, but David Krejci is going to want at least $3 million for his last contract as an NHL player. Do you know what I mean? And Tuukka Rask is not going to now get paid $5 million because he'd rather retire, walk away, and got a brood of daughters to raise or whatever to go on. I do think it makes it harder, but what concerns me more about if it makes it harder to keep our older core players, because the core is falling apart in front of our eyes, basically, is that poses a problem to attract people to want to come here. because they want to come here to play with our core players. But our core players are walking away or aging away or whatever, there's many scenarios. So I guess I'm more concerned about not if we could keep Rask or Krejci. I think Rask is done either way, and I'd love Krejci for one more year, you know what I mean, or whatever, to finish out with Bergie. I said that to Mark a million times. But yeah, no, I think it is not nearly, I think we're making the situation nearly impossible. And that's going to be a problem if some of these kids can't step up and they still can't trade for somebody to replace these players. You know what I mean? Or acquire, I guess, in there.
Yeah, for me, it's I don't see them coming back. I don't see them getting contract offers. Just by what's going on with the trend, how they worked with Krug, how they did things with Chara, or how that whole thing worked out. I don't see them coming back. The Rask thing, I think he retires, but if he wanted to play, I don't believe it's going to be within the Bruins organization. I actually think that they're going to do the same a lot with these cores. Once the cores start getting to the end of their contracts, I think you're going to start. I mean, maybe Bergeron stays around. Who knows? But I don't know. Something's leaving a bad taste in my mouth with the way this organization is moving forward with players. And it's not going to look good when some players that are free agents. When you have $44 million in cap space next season, and you want to address, let's say, the right wing, which has been an anomaly for friggin' years now, probably the bad word to use, but anyway, what's going to attract them to come here? And like, okay, I'm going to come here for a 1-year deal, negotiate, but I'm going to get talked down on money on my next deal. It doesn't, I don't know. I don't get the attraction of Don Sweeney and the discounts and everything like that. So I don't see these two players moving forward. And I think that they're going to start to incorporate more of the youth. I think Jack Stanika is going to take a significant increase in his role once Krejci's gone. You're going to see the upshift. You're going to see the Coyle go to the second line center. You're going to see somebody like Stanika take on the third line center and so on. So that's just my opinion.
I agree. I think that more than likely the odds are in the favor of Krejci and Rask both being gone. I think they may entertain. It depends, again, like you said, on Stanika, some of the young guys, how they do this year. If they get bounced in the first round, or if they don't make the playoffs for some reason, which could happen. I mean, you get a couple injuries, you have a young defense, you have a goalie who's half in, half out. May happen. So if that happens, then that could change what you do in a heartbeat. But I think that more than likely they may offer Krejci like 1 year at 4 or 5 or something to keep him. I don't think he'd take it. I think he probably would get an offer of something else from some other team looking to make one good run at it. There's still some playmaking life in there, power play. He could still play second line center for someone with some good talent on either side. So, he may go out west or somewhere. It's possible, but I think leaning toward not seeing either one of them back after next season. So, and I think Halak may be, because they may have to have a veteran guy in there. So you may see him extend Halak for a deal similar to the one he has now to go 1 more year, because you'll need some insurance there. You'll probably have to go out and get a veteran guy to be your number 1 goaltender. And they have the cap space to do it. It'd be interesting to see who it is. So now next time was that?
Skip the next one. We've already covered that.
Right. So why do we have to live now through Pierre-Luc Dubois rumors? So the Columbus Blue Jackets re-signed Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was a young number 1 center, very talented, disgruntled, wants to move on from Tortorella. There's a friction there. I'm a no on it, just because, again, the Bruins aren't doing this. They just aren't doing this. They aren't taking on more term with anybody. This is the group they're going in with, and they're not taking on Pierre-Luc Dubois and his newly signed long-term deal. They just aren't. So there's that. But I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts on it. Look, it's not that I don't want Pierre-Luc Dubois, but 2 things. The Bruins don't have what it takes to get him in trade, unless it's Pasternak or McAvoy. or it wouldn't even take Carlo. It would take more than that. And then they aren't taking on any type of contracts like that. So it sounds good in theory, but Heather, what are your thoughts on Pierre-Luc Dubois?
Oh, I think he's a young little stud. He looked awesome in the playoffs. He punched Toronto right in the face multiple times and whatever, but he punched us, like whatever. He great, but for all the reasons Matt just said, like there's no way in hell we're going out to get him. Like, okay, if like a Taylor Hall is a wish and a prayer, there's no way you're even making a move to even shore up a young, which is sad because that's exactly the player they need to move money for, to get a player like that that's like up and coming and young and like is growing. If those are the players we have to go get to shore up and make sure we even have a core and things to go forward with the young players we have, so but that's, as much as I love that, a no-go. I think it's just because people draw, like apparently the Bruins are going to trade or make an offer for every single player in the NHL. That's how I'm starting to feel, but no go on that one.
For me, it's the addition and subtractions. You're going to get a player like Pierre-Luc Dubois, but you're going to give up some assets, some future assets. Like you could definitely see Columbus looking at like Jack Stanika, and that's a heavy no for me. So yeah, I don't see it happening. It's 2 years at $5 million a piece. It doesn't quite work with the cap, even though that we're going to have 44 million next season, but it doesn't work this season. So you're definitely going to have some cap management expert figure that one out, but I don't see it happening at all.
Yeah, I don't either. And news I just saw is that Matt Barzal of the New York Islanders is now officially a holdout in camp.
Yep. So now the Bruins are going to go after him.
Yeah. So now you'll hear the Barzal. Now they get a chance to redeem themselves and get Barzal after all and trade half the team for him. So that would be great. Next item on the agenda, Boston versus Philadelphia at Lake Tahoe this February. It's some outdoor hockey. Vegas and Colorado was the other game that was announced. And I love it. I mean, I've never been out to Lake Tahoe. Would love to go. Of course, no one can go probably. They'll have very limited seating out there, I would assume. But Boston and Philly in February. Do you like, Mark, do you like the outdoor hockey?
I do. I enjoy it. It's good for the league, regardless of there's going to be fans in the stands or not. It's going to be a huge draw for TV exposure, and that's it. What it's all about is it is about the fans. I get it, but it's also a business. So you have to look at avenues of revenue. So this is like really good. I'm excited, and I don't believe it's going to be on the lake. I don't think that they can logistically do that, but it might be very close to the shore where you can actually put a solid surface of ice, like they do with the Winter Classic rings. They go in there, they build it, and boom, and then they just assemble it and move on. So I kind of think that that's what's going to happen with the lake in the background. I think it'd be fantastic. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm not a fan of the whiners out there that don't like the outdoor game because it doesn't bring the pro element. It's more of a nostalgia kind of feeling. But I'm not a whiner, so I'm a big fan of outdoor hockey, and I think it's going to be good for the league, regardless of fans in the stands, as I said before.
I love outdoor games, and I love the All-Star game. As long as the NHL does it right, like you have a beautiful opportunity. I think it's going to be at there's like a country club or something that's on the Nevada side, I think is where they're building the rink or something like that. But I'm sure obviously they're going to have the shots of Lake Tahoe in the back. They have to figure out how to make that happen, or else what's the point of picking this beautiful location? You know what I mean? But they just have to do it right. And every now and then you have to have the nostalgia. Let's be honest. It's not like hockey fan ranks grow except for by breeding and like conversion. So let's convert some people into the great feels that all the old school fans have.
Yeah, I think it's great. I went to the Winter Classic against the Canadiens, a terrible game. Bruins played terrible, but great experience. And I think out in Lake Tahoe, it's beautiful. I think the NHL needs anything positive, and you have the opportunity to play outdoors, unlike basketball or, you have the opportunity to play outdoors. You might as well do it. I know it's a big cost, so that's for the league. But as you said, Mark, the exposure and and TV and business is good, and the NHL has done right by. Some people say they overdo the winter, thing, but you know what? It's a good thing. You might as well do it as much as you can.
Absolutely.
Next item on the agenda: the American Hockey League is a go. They made a statement on December 30th that they have agreed to a February 5th start. The American Hockey League Board of Governors has approved the structural framework for an AHL season that will begin on February 5th, 2021. Details still being worked out, but I know, Mark, this makes you very happy. You're a big minor league hockey guy and an advocate for it, and this is great for the young players around the league.
It is. The Board of Governors meeting was on Wednesday of this past week, and things are looking good, but they're still up in the air for the teams that are individually owned and not supported by the NHL affiliate. So those are. I get this mixed up because I'm not good with the numbers. It's either 11 teams that aren't owned by the NHL club, or it's 20 teams that aren't owned. But one of those numbers are going to be affected. And the Providence Bruins are one of those teams that are not owned by the Boston Bruins, the NHL parent club. So it's going to be interesting what Renfro LaRue is going to do with the team. I'm hearing from a close source that they are going to be playing at the Dunk. No fans in the stands, obviously. We'll see what happens with that. But good friend Patrick Williams, who always shouts us out all the time. This guy's an NHL writer, and he's constantly retweeting our stuff. He says, regarding the upcoming AHL schedule, I do expect some teams to go beyond this minimum, but getting that flexibility was a key step forward in the league getting consensus this past week. He was told that some teams could have a 24-game minimum. Now, for me, a lot of this is just coming down to development and not about, the game on the ice. So I don't know. There's still a lot of things that need to be worked out moving forward before that targeted. It's a tentative date of February 5th as of right now. So I'm going to be continually to talk to Patrick to give me updates and so on about what's going on. And we'll obviously be updating all the listeners and YouTube viewers moving forward.
Heather, do you feel this will work? With it may be a situation like the ECHL where some teams play, some teams don't, I would assume.
I'm concerned about the teams that don't have the financial backing from their parent clubs, whatever the name you associate with them. But I am happy that that's what they said before, right? Mark, was February 4th. They're still on target to what they had hoped. So that gives me hope. And now with, vaccines and everything rolling out, and, so hopefully in the next month or so, things will continue to change, you know what I mean? And it gets a little safer for traveling. And they, the biggest thing is hopefully they can get people to help them sponsor to do all that safety stuff we're always talking about, the testing and the cleaning and the crews or whatever for that, fans or no fans, to help the team stay as healthy as possible. So I know they're still working the stuff out, but I'm happy because, like, as we talked about, a little nerve-wracking about where all these future NHL players are going to play if they can't even play in the AHL and then half the EC, so yeah, I wouldn't doubt that maybe some teams opt out, but I think it would have to be more for the financial reason than for the, just not, the travel reasons or whatever, the way like the ECHL, because like the Providence Bruins are going to draw more, than an ECHL team, at least attention wise for revenue on TV and such. But yeah, I'm just happy they have a place to play, and that it's, and also that the NHL, there's a lot of players that have to choose between signing a professional contract and leaving college and things like this at this point. So makes me happy, at least if that's the case. There's real, the B League's like we need the AHL, the NHL needs the AHL, vice versa. So that's it. Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble, but I'm just happy they have a place to play and that they're, at least most of them will be able to have a season.
Right. So 2 quick news items before we get to the break with a new sponsor and the interview with Craig Eagles of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League Scout. Boston Pride named their captains for the season, and David Pastrnak makes the cut of EA Sports NHL 21 Team of the Year. So that's naturally what would happen. He's one of the best goal scorers in the league, so that's no surprise. But again, Heather, you love the Boston Pride. It's a great opportunity for the women to play professional hockey. They'll be on TV as well, and so they named their captains for the season.
Yeah, I just want no shock. Jill Dempsey is the captain of the team. Jillian Dempsey's, thing. Kaylee Franklin and McKenna Brand are going to serve as alternates. The Pride are doing an awesome thing right now. You can actually buy a fan cutout, and so you'll be on TV during the games or whatever. The fans in the stands kind of cut out, and they're signing them. You know what I mean? So you're supporting them, and you can have an awesome keepsake over it, and that goes till the 15th. So if you're feeling froggy, feel free to help support the girls. NWHL, I believe the 23rd is their first game, but they should be heading to Lake Placid very soon. That's going to be awesome. And generate some TV. So the boys better bring it when they come back this season, because if they come out week out the gate, the ladies are going to kill them in ratings. You better watch out.
True.
That's probably why they put the Tahoe game in February. They're trying to.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe you're right. All right, it's break time. We have a brand new sponsor.
Yes, listen to this next commercial, the mid commercial. We're going to be doing these for the next year. So every week, Bruce Sullivan is going to update us on his inventory that his company has of hand-signed, authentic jerseys and other items, photos, and so on. And he is from the Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. Check this, listen to it. And for the YouTubers, you get a special treat, because he's actually going to show you what he has with his products. So you can actually see what's going on. So it's really important to subscribe to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast YouTube channel. So do that and listen to this fantastic gentleman talk about what he has to offer for some very, very reasonable prices. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. This is Bruce from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia with your Black and Gold Memorabilia Moment of the Week. Well, we certainly couldn't let the historic nature of the events that happened this week go by without acknowledging the captain himself, Zdeno Chara. So we are offering this beautiful 22 by 26 Zdeno Chara special edition for just $169. It's hand signed by the captain himself. It features custom framing and matting, the official logo patchwork here, custom nameplate, and it's all yours for just $169. The other Bruin we wanted to acknowledge this week and feature on our show here is the Charlie Coyle, hometown hero. We've got Charlie Coyle hand-signed 11 by 14 photo display starting at just $49. Or you could choose this JSA 11 by 14 special edition for just $59. Or you could choose this beautiful special edition. This is 15 by 20, and this features the Bruins patchwork, custom framing and matting for this special edition for just $99. And of course, we're always featuring hand-signed Bruins jerseys as well. We've got the two Charlie Coyle custom jerseys for just $89 a piece. They're hand-signed and JSA authentic. So there you have it. For more information about any of these offerings or the dozens of other Bruins pieces of memorabilia we have each week, check out our Facebook page at Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia, or you could email me directly at bostonsportsandmusic@gmail.com. And definitely be sure to listen each week to this Black and Gold Hockey Podcast for all the information you need on the upcoming 2021 season. Let's go!
All right, Bruins fans, that was a fantastic first for our program and our first with our new relationship with Bruce Sullivan from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. He has a lot of great items. Please check them out. Follow the information you heard previously. But without any wasting any more time, we're going to get to our featured guest right now. His name is Craig Eagles. You can follow him on Twitter at Eags37. That's at EAGS37. and we talked about some prospects that are going to be getting some serious looks for this Boston Bruins roster on the back end. So we'll get right to that, and then we'll end the show shortly. So we'll be right back. As mentioned at the beginning of the show, we do have a very special guest, and he's one of my good friends and a very close and personal connection when it comes to hockey, especially at the development role. He is a Rogers TV New Brunswick color analyst. He's a Quebec Major Junior Hockey League New Brunswick scout for the CSR company. He's a prospect writer and host at Sports Inclusive. And you can follow him on Twitter at Eags37. That's EAGS37. And he's a diehard Bruins fan and my buddy, Craig Eagles. Welcome back to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast, bud.
Happy New Year, Mark. And thanks so much for having me back on. Tremendous work from you and the whole staff throughout the pandemic here. It's great stuff, and I love following along.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the kind words. Let's start off with some good stuff. How was your holidays and hopefully New Year?
Well, holidays, Christmas was great. Santa found the kids, aka my wife did an amazing job. So it's tons of family. Trying to keep our contacts low, obviously, with everything going on here. Our numbers here in New Brunswick, we just had our 9th death here in the province due to COVID. So my thoughts and prayers go out to their family. The New Brunswick government and the maritime provinces have done a tremendous job so far, and our front line workers and healthcare providers have done just amazing work. So holidays were great for the most part, other than blowing the transmission out of our van on the way up. So Merry Christmas, $3,700 later.
Oh.
But anyway, I digress. I actually caught a few games, caught one game live. It was great to get back into the rinks. Caught a few games from a scouting perspective online as well. Now it's just having to get those reports in. So looking forward to tonight. Hopefully the snow doesn't cancel the game, but looking forward tonight to get into the rink and see a good St. John team take on the Moncton Flyers as well. So things have been great up here for the most part from a scouting perspective.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that you're back in the ranks at a low capacity right now, and hoping that rises day by day or months to come, my friend.
Well, I'm looking forward to the queue getting ramped up again. So it's looking like January 22nd, the queue is going to get started. So lots of maritime movement during the trade period here. And the Charlottetown Islanders looking to load up and, push for the President's Cup. So tons of great hockey and tons of great prospects coming out of the Maritimes.
Before we get into the Bruins talk, and two particular young players that you've seen in the past throughout the queue as a scout, I do want to get your thoughts on the return to play on the NHL. Are you excited about this? And with training camp starting for the Boston Bruins tomorrow, things are certainly ramping up, and schedules are being made. So it's definitely going to happen. So just want to get a quick thought on your excitement and hopefully to watch some games soon.
Well, I think it's fantastic. The NHL, and again, opinions are like noses. Everyone has one. I think the NHL have done a tremendous job at coordinating everything and making sure the players and all the personnel are safe. And I think that's first and foremost. They did it in the playoffs with the bubble. People were critical of, it's never going to work. They made it work, Mark. And I think it's tremendous what they've done. Hopefully everyone and all the teams stay healthy and abide by all the regulations. I think it's really exciting that Canada is going to have its own division. I think it's phenomenal that the Canadian government are making some stretching the rules a little bit right now to ensure players and travel and that type of thing. So fingers crossed, just hopefully everyone stays safe. And I think from an NHL perspective, they've done a fantastic job. Plus, I think outdoor games will definitely kind of lend itself to more excitement building up. But obviously with the departure of Zdeno Chara, training camp is going to look different. Everything is going to look different from a Boston Bruins perspective.
Absolutely. And we'll just get right into it. One of the reasons why I follow you, you're just a tremendous person in general. That's first and foremost. But the second thing is the best thing about you is I value your opinion, because you're a guy that does the grind and wants to get in the ranks and actually see the action happen before you report it. You're not one of the stats guys that goes on to the many websites and just picks and pulls for content. You do the grind and get right involved. But you have seen two prospects that the Boston Bruins currently have right now. And you mentioned the departure of Zdeno Chara, and then earlier in free agency, Torrey Krug going to St. Louis. This creates a very big opportunity for two players that you've seen personally, and that's why I wanted to have you on today. The first one is Jeremy Lauzon. He did play for the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies and the Q. And I know that going through the Maritimes up there, you've gotten to see many games of his. I want to get your feeling about what you saw from him, what he can provide, and the tremendous role that is in front of him right now moving forward for the Boston Bruins in 2021.
Well, I think, and thanks, Mark, for that. I really appreciate you saying those things, and it does mean a lot. The eye test is really, really important to me. So I really appreciate you saying that first and foremost. I think with adversity comes opportunity. And, right now, a lot of young Boston Bruin defensive prospects have that opportunity. And it's an opportunity that they have to take advantage of. I listened to Jacques Demers give a presentation one time about literacy. And, he's a very emotional guy. And obviously our thoughts are with him. He's had a lot of health issues. But he talked about what he told his players. When opportunity knocks, you go through the door. And right now, Jeremy Lauzon and Jakob Boro have to really take advantage of this opportunity and walk through the door, so to speak. And I think they're going to take that, but it's going to take time. And it's all about being patient for them right now. You can't force the issue. And when you look at Lauzon, he was just kind of coming into his own when the season ended. I thought he was, pretty good during the playoffs and in the bubble. And I thought he did very, very well. And plus playing both sides, playing on the right side and his strong side. So I really think Lauzon is ready to take the next step, but you have to be patient. It's hard to be patient when you're pushing for a Stanley Cup and when you have that window closing very, very rapidly if you're the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what I saw from him too. The physicality is good. He's more of a shutdown type of defenseman or aspiring one, but he's also got good mobility, and we've seen that in the play when he sees an opportunity to skate through the neutral zone and be a part of the forward movement with his teammates, especially at the offensive side of the game. But yeah, I've always liked Jeremy. He's been a really good interview, just a very smart, knowledgeable kid. And I really want him to do well. But I do understand what you're saying about the pressures and so on. This is going to be a real tough training camp. It's going to be very, compressed. It's going to be only about 2 weeks or maybe even less. And then no games, no preseason games at all. We're going to go right into the season. So that's going to pay a lot of factors into the playing style, chemistry you're going to get with possibly a new defensive pairing on the second or third line. So we'll see what happens with that.
With Lauzon, Mark, it's this kid almost had his career ended with a very, very serious injury in junior. And I still remember interviewing him during the playoffs that year, had a neck brace on. It was this very, very scary incident and injury. It put a lot of things in perspective. And I just remember how gracious he was, and how focused he was to get back. And I think the Huskies did a fantastic job developing him and Phil Myers at the time. They're a tremendous organization, but when you look at Lauzon, I see a character 2-zone defenseman. He's not a 2.5 zone guy. He has mobility on the offensive blue line. He's very active. He knocks down pucks. He gets shots through, but he's a good bona fide 2-zone guy. He's not going to hurt you in the neutral zone. Like you said, he jumps in, got great instincts, makes the first pass. He's your 2-zone, prototypical defenseman that can skate. Where I think he's going to have to improve on is his explosiveness below the dots, making sure that, he's got a great stick, but making sure he doesn't get beat to the net and or beat in a one-on-one situation coming out of the corner. I think, edge control, mobility, agility he needs to continue to ramp that up and that aspect up in his game.
Yeah, and he can close the lanes really quick too. He's got that intelligence, but it's at a development level right now, and it could definitely get better. Going back to his injury, yeah, I watched that game. That was bad. And then later to find out about his brother Zachary, that was tough to hear too.
Well, I'll tell you, his brother. It was that game. It was I believe it was Game 6 at the Moncton Coliseum. His brother was 17 years old. The Huskies were down by 2. They were going back. Like everything was playing into the Moncton Wildcats' hands here with Connor Garland. And they were up, I think it was 4-1 late in the second period. And Lauzon's brother, challenged. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to embarrass the kid. But at that point, your gloves should have been glued on. You don't give the Huskies momentum. You're up 3 goals at home, Game 6. No. You never do that. Anyway, Lauzon challenged him. Guy dropped his gloves, fought right in front of the Huskies and Wildcats bench, right in between. Good tilt. But and I said it on air. I'm like, that's going to change the momentum. Huskies score late, make it 4-2, and they score 3 unanswered plus an empty netter to take Game 6 and win the series. All right. Yes. That's the character that the Lauzon family has.
Oh yeah.
And it was awful to see him have to step away from the game from a professional standpoint. Then he signed on with UNB, which is a great program. Gardner McDougall does a fantastic job. And they made the announcement. I'm thinking, oh, wow, he's back playing. He's healthy. He can still, get into the National Hockey League in the pro ranks. And about a week later, forced to kind of hang it up again. So really, really sad that that he's not going to be able to play. And I think, their dad's a doctor. They're brilliant kids, all of the family, and just it's really sad to see that he couldn't play.
Yeah, that's tough. Moving on to another player that we've talked about in extensive conversations, and that's Jakob Boro. He was recently signed to a 2-year deal. This one's interesting for me because the fact is that he's waiver priority if he needs to go down to Providence, and I don't think he'll last long on that waiver wire at all. He had a great year at Providence last year. I saw it from my own eyes and reported on it several times on Twitter and in articles. And Jay Leach is just very, very high on him. And he's the type of player that is going to give up the puck once in a while, but the way he recovers himself during the game, Jay Leach says impact many times in the interviews I've had with him, and making an impact in the game when you made a mistake. It's almost like taking a plus or a minus and so on. You figure out how to make your game better after a mistake. But he's going to have a huge chance at Bruins camp starting tomorrow. And I'm really pulling for the kid, especially with the left shot scenario and the departures of Chara and Krug. So how do you feel about Jakob moving forward? And do you think that he could seriously earn a spot and be a mainstay in the NHL starting this season?
Well, we talked about opportunity. This is Jakob's opportunity, and you really have to. If you're Jakob, it's all about confidence. It really is. And you look at his numbers, and his numbers, Mark, as you know, are very consistent in the last 3 years in Providence. But you'll have to look beyond the numbers. What's this kid going to do in his defensive zone and in the neutral zone? Is he ready to make an impact at the NHL level? His skating, very, very good. His thought processing with the puck needs to improve, like you alluded to. If he keeps things simple, like we've talked about before, keeps it simple, he will be very, very effective this season for the Bruins. Now, from a depth chart perspective, is he going to be in their top 6 right away? That's going to be, we'll have to see. A healthy Kevin Miller is going to, change things, and hopefully he's going to be ready to go. So with Jakob, it's all about opportunity. It's all about, I know that he was there during, the playoffs and in the bubble. I get that. And it's great that he was there. But right now, you have to make the best of your situation when you have the opportunity. And a less is more approach has to be taken if you're Jakob Boro. All right. This is kind of an MO throughout his career. When he tries to push the envelope, that's when the mistakes happen. But if he plays to his identity, which is a solid 2.5 zone D man, because offensively, he's got great instincts. He jumps into the play. He's got a pro shot. We all know that. So it's all about keeping things in control and playing 16, 17 minutes a game or lower, okay, at the NHL level, 14, 15 minutes, and not costing your team by making that big mistake with the puck or, jumping in. It really has to pick and choose his places right now. And I think if he does that, he's going to have success at the NHL level. But really, realistically, Mark, he's only had 3, I think maybe 5 games at the National Hockey League level because of the depth. And we've talked about it before. Any other organization, this kid would have been in the National Hockey League, but given the Bruins' depth on the back end, there was no room right now. Now is the opportunity for him to take advantage of that.
Absolutely. I hope he makes it. And I mean, I'm just spitballing again right now, but I would love to see a second line pairing of him on the left side and Brandon Carlo on the right. It's something that they can definitely experiment with because he does have that, like you said, he's got that type of defensive game that can be that shutdown type of guy, but also be that player that, as a diehard Bruins fan over the years, they mismatch a lot with a guy that's shut down and a guy that's mobile. And I think that second pairing of a Zboril and Carlo would be beneficial, but it remains to be seen, obviously.
Well, and again, you have to be very, very careful, from a scouting perspective to use comparables or comparisons or similarities. But I see a lot of kind of an Andrew Ference type guy, a very reliable puck mover, a defensive presence, not going to light the world on fire offensively, but a very, very good skater and great agility and good puck mover, good instincts. And when the opportunity's there offensively, he's got a great shot, like we alluded to. Ference had a great shot too. But it's the plays, this little subtle plays that Ference made, cerebral plays that I think Jakob really needs to process the game just a little bit quicker at the NHL level. And if he can get there, I see a very similar type style to that of Andrew Ference.
Absolutely. We're getting up against it, so we'll go to this last question, my friend. Why do you think the Bruins have not been drafting players in the CHL lately? Do you have any? Now, I'm not reaching for anything that you might know from a source or anything like that. But let me hear your feelings, because there's a lot of Boston Bruins fans out there that are constantly harping on the fact that the NCAA and the USHL are taking priorities over good players up in Canada. And in those tremendous leagues, the developmental leagues in the Q, the Dub, and the Ontario League. So, if there's any insight or anything that you can offer, I'd love to hear it myself.
Well, I think it's a great question. It'd be a great question to ask Don Sweeney, and I didn't ask that when last season when I had the opportunity to interview him on Rogers, which was one of my, if I'm being honest, a very bad interview. I was so nervous for obvious reasons. But anyway, Don was great and very, very cordial. It was awesome. But it's a great question. And I think, I'm not sure if you missed the news or not. I'm sure you didn't, because I saw your like on the tweet. But the Boston Bruins have hired Darren Burns. And a great longtime coach, great player, university player up here, coach of the Acadia right now. They've shut down. So Burnsy's role is to scout here in the Maritimes, because Alan Bissonnette can't travel, right? All the borders are shut down. He can't travel. So the Bruins are very proactive, hire Burnsy to really look at the Maritime talent here and zero in on this year's draft stock and maybe some undrafted players here in the Maritimes that are definitely difference makers. So I think that's a sign that they are going to put more focus here in the Maritimes this season. I think their scouting staff have done a tremendous job, but when it comes to the CHL, I think, there have been some phenomenal players that, I'm thinking of Dawson Mercer and all those players in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League that have, and really across the CHL. It's a little unfortunate that they haven't drafted any of those players playing in the CHL lately, but I think that's going to change. And I think, maybe is it an organizational philosophy? Maybe they're zeroing in on certain leagues and certain players. But I think a mindset now is, okay, organizational need and or the best player available. And I think that's a question that you're going to have to ask Don Sweeney. For years, if you're looking at their draft, they have drafted extremely well in the first round. Again, 2015, it is what it is. But if you look at that, even, Carlo drafted in 2015. So you can't look, 2015 draft. But look at their first round. They've done a tremendous job. And then, go through and see. Lauku came over, had a tremendous season with the Huskies. And I'm surprised that they haven't brought him back. I really am, Mark. So here's a kid that played in the CHL. They drafted him, had him in the CHL, loved him. He was solid and then the injury happened. So, to get back to your question, I think the Bruins organization are really going to start zeroing in on CHL players moving forward. And the hiring of Burns is a good indication of that they're putting some more importance in this area and across the CHL. And it's going to be very difficult if the leagues start, if the Ontario Hockey League and the Dubs start. You're not going to have that crossover opportunity that scouts have and that the organization has throughout. So you're really going to be focusing in on your regional guys to make good decisions.
Absolutely. He is Craig Eagles, and you can follow him on Twitter at EAGS37. That's Eags37. And Craig, another solid appearance, my friend. I wish we could do these all the time, but you know that the schedules and this and that, it doesn't work out to hang out with you every week or every day like I would love to, because I'm a sponge when I hang out with you, bud.
Well, thanks, Mark, and it's always a pleasure to jump on here. And like I said before, you guys are doing tremendous work, the entire staff at Black and Gold, and it's tremendous to see the impact that you're having on the organization, the game, and just Bruins fans. It's great to see. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the time, Craig. Best of to your family and everybody up there. We're always thinking of each other as neighbors. So just another great interview, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mark. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll get back to the rinks very soon.
Maybe get a beer sometime.
Definitely.
When I travel up there, when I can cross the border, I got to have a beer with you, bud.
Or multiple.
There you go. I like that idea. All right, Craig, thank you very much. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. That was a great interview with Craig Eagles. He's such a great guy, and I love that we can make some time together. He's a very knowledgeable scout up in the Q, lives up in New Brunswick, and does a fantastic job. And anytime I reach out to him, he's always available to come on. Yeah, huge Boston Bruins fan. So it was a good interview. So we'll get him back on sometime soon and talk some more hockey.
Excellent. It was really good to hear from Craig Eagles. Now it's time for Ask BNG. Heather.
All right. First of all, thank you again for people who send in. I'd like to remind everyone, please use the hashtag AskBNG because that makes it a little bit more together.
That's a hashtag.
Okay. I'm like, what are you doing?
The fence.
Are you making like a gesture at me? I'm like,
Yeah,
it's a waffle fry. It's a waffle fry.
We're almost done, boys.
Yeah.
I'm trying again. I'm trying very hard to be.
Waffle fry, Ask BNG. Okay.
Yeah, waffle fry, Ask BNG. So Tom asks, who are the 6 defensemen the Bruins will start? What do you think? We sort of talked about it, but want me to name our options at this current time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Lauzon and McAvoy, Grizzly, Carlo, and Clifton Zaboro. That'd be my 6.
Yeah, and I had Grizzly, McAvoy, Moore, and Carlo, Lauzon, and Clifton, and Kevin Miller injured.
Although I still want to throw up when Matt says it out loud because it's like, it's all really real what might be happening on this back end. I'm going to have to agree. I think that's how it's going to roll. Maybe more in Zaboro kind of swap.
Yeah.
Zaboro, a left shot. Yeah. So they might switch out on that second pairing with Carlo. Probably more so Zaboro doesn't have all that added pressure because he really doesn't have any experience, but also, he can be with Carlo, who needs a new kind of moving left side for him.
And if Saboro can slide in with Carlo, you may see more with Clifton. But again, you have to remember that Moore needs to play 40 games to get on the expansion list. I'm sure they'd love to do that. He played 24 games last season, which I was surprised. I didn't realize he played that much. But if he gets to 40 games, he's on that expansion list too. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. I'm sure they'll want to play him as much as they can anyway, as long as he's serviceable.
Torrey was hurt too. That's probably partly why they were in there. Okay. Again, it's a little bit of a hot mess in these just because some people didn't use the hashtags, but Andrew Taverna says, who is your long shot to make the opening night roster? Who's the long shot to make the roster, but who would you be excited to see? I'm sorry, I messed that up. I'm sorry, Andrew. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Tom.
I'm going Trent Frederick. I want to see him on the 4th line instead of Par Lindholm. That's my bold statement.
I don't see any real surprises. I think Saboro will be given a chance as much as possible. Because they seem to have a logjam at forward. I don't see really anybody at forward doing it. I don't really have anybody as a surprise, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm not we kind of know who's going to be there, whether we want them or not to be.
Right.
So
Right.
that's that. Okay, let's see. What else do we have going here? Chad McVean says, will Stanika's performance this year directly affect whether Krejci is resigned? Will the kids, quote unquote, on D step up and the losses of Krug and Chara not be as bad as everyone thinks? Will Rask or Halak be back next year? We've already covered, we think Halak is a better chance than Tukes to be back. So let's start with the first one about Stanika versus re-signing David Krejci. Mark, why don't you start on that one?
Yeah, I'm all for Stanika. I've been following him quite often throughout his process as a Boston Bruin since his draft day. Yeah, I think that he's going to definitely be the third pairing. I mean, the third center in the next season, or even in the next couple seasons, who knows? But starting on the right wing is not a bad idea. I think that's probably where he's going to go. And he might even beat out a player like Kasha too. Who knows? It's just so many things that you can go right now.
I don't think it affects Krejci. I think they're going to put a value on Krejci, and if they want to bring him back even just a little bit, they'll give him an offer that they see fit as his value. I think Krejci's value will be higher in his mind, and I think he'll end up leaving, going somewhere else. But I don't think it has anything really to do with Stanika and his development or how his performance. I think that they're going to put a number on Krejci, and so be it.
I feel like they're independent of each other. I mean, hopefully, Stanika, no offense, I have more hope for to maybe be, part of the next core of this team than a lot of these other people, no matter how much people like them. We are at a reckoning to see who now you have to shit or get off the point. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. I'm just saying you can't keep everyone, and not everyone is actually turning out to be useful. And some of our prospects are getting a lot older than people might realize. So I forgot Grizzlick was 27. Know what I mean? Like, oh my God, whatever. So anyways, I guess the other part of that is I'm going to just flat out and say, no, I think that everyone's going to feel the loss of Chara and Krug, even if these kids step up, not because these kids might not be able to step up, but because that's a huge hole, as opposed, like, we're going to feel it on defense. But what do you guys think? Do you think at least the kids on D will hop up and maybe take away the sting of the loss of Krug and Chara? Because it's going to take a year at least before they plug a hole, really plug it.
Yeah, I don't. See, here's my thing. Very rarely do you have multiple young players come together and all perform well. I mean, inevitably, the percentages are that someone's just not going to perform that well, and you're going to be scrambling at that particular position. It's putting a lot on them to have Clifton, Lozon, Saboro, and even Grizzlick moving up. To have all those things happen is really being optimistic. It just is. There's going to be some bumps and some, just there's going to be some hills and valleys, and you have even Charlie McAvoy as a younger player. Carlo's in his 5th season. He's actually like the veteran guy. Grizzlick and Carlo are like the veteran guys when you don't factor in Miller. I mean, it's a really young defensive group, and it's all young. It's not just the third pair, as a young group, which would be scary enough. It's all through your lineup. So I'm concerned that if you look at all the Stanley Cup winning teams or teams that go deep in the playoffs, they all have stud top pair. They all have veteran defensemen, all of them. I mean, it's very rarely do you see a team with young defense making a run. So that's my only caveat for the season with the defense.
Yeah, it's probably going to take a step back this year on the D. That's why it's so important to get your forwards and the core members on that offensive on the offensive 12 to all buy in. Shots on net, pucks in deep. You can go out through all the cliches, but at the end of the day, is your goals are what win you games at the final buzzer. The team with the most goals automatically wins. So I think that the goal scoring need, secondary scoring, all those narratives have to come in play this year, because you're gonna take that step back on D. So to make up for their mistakes on D is you're gonna have to score more than your opponent. So I think that's going to be a huge emphasis on this training camp, which starts tomorrow actually. I know I said today. I thought it was today, but it's actually tomorrow. So that's just my opinion.
No, they do open today. We're just not starting till tomorrow. Like technically the camps could open on the 3rd, but we're just,
Right.
they're not opening camp really up until
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay.
Right.
All right.
yeah,
So
they-
like the
they do it
date for the
tomorrow.
NHL was today, but we didn't even have a roster until 10:30 last night. So
Yeah, that was crazy.
that's a fine point. And Mark, that's exactly the point I want you, because I know you have this thing, I hate prospects. No, I don't, but I'm also a realist. So exactly what you said is what I'm worried about. Like Craig Smith. Good signing, right? Only signing. But it doesn't no good to get better 5-on-5 if you you know what I mean? So like you said, the forwards really have to step up. They can't rely on Chara maybe setting off a good snapshot, in there, whatever, or Torrey going around the net and walking up and passing them back the puck if they lose it in the neutral zone. Like forward, this is on the forwards. They need to be better defensively as a forward group. They have sucked doing that the last 2 seasons. It's partly why we lost the Stanley Cup, so that's that. Okay. So thank you, chat. Okay. So among the younger players who have already played a good number of games in the NHL, like Clifton, Bjork, etc., who is most likely to have a breakout season? I think Bjork.
Who is this from?
This is from Bruinscape.
Okay.
And I think Bjork, because, if you're going just the people who've been playing up a little, I think he took a little step back, which isn't shocking in a second, seeing a really good play. That's just me. Go boys.
For me, it would be Bjork, but I definitely want to see him on Coyle's line and not jump around. I want to see him get chemistry, because it seems like every time he gets comfortable, he's moved. He's on the right side, he's on the left side, he's on this line, on that line. So
right.
I think if he can get some really good chemistry with Coyle, I think you're going to see a really good Anders Bjork this year.
I mean, in the beginning of the year, without Pasternak for a chunk of it, there'll be some scrambling there. But I'm with you, Mark. I want Coyle, Smith, and Bjork and play it out for 15 games and see what happens there. I think he could really benefit from 2 puck possession guys who can both score and play make and grind for pucks. And, they're very good veteran players. And I think he could really benefit from playing with Coyle and Smith, 2 guys with decent size, and he can dart around and he can score. He's got a shot. He can score. He has some ability there. So I think he can really benefit from that. Like Mark said, you got to keep him on the line and just build the chemistry. And I really am intrigued. I think that could be a really good line, but what do I know? So
I'm with you, Matt. I'm with you.
Sweeney. Right.
That's a very good point, though, about maybe giving him a place to be instead of, he spent a lot of time just plugging where we need him to be, or shaking it up. So that, to be fair, would be good for him just overall, probably as development, to have a center and stick with it. Also, Charlie Coyle's awesome. So, all right, Nanook the bitch, Paul Bannister says, with the lack of preseason in terms of games and so many unknowns with the players, at least we have goalies. Players needing to step up and play at a higher level, get together, etc. Plus current injuries. How bad can the first 2 months be? 500 ?
It's going to be important.
500.
It's going to be important to get out of the gate on a shortened season, 56 game, quick. If you're not winning, if you don't have, I want to say, a 7-5 record to start, good luck getting back into this into a playoff scenario whenever that starts in May or late April. It's imperative that this team, coaching staff, everybody buys in on let's get to work as soon as possible and get it done as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's important to have a quick start. I think it does. It's to their disadvantage that they don't have more preseason time because of the young D. But they do have veteran forwards. They do have veteran goaltending. And they're in a division that I still think is that they are better than most, if not all, teams. So they should be able to come out against the Devils, for instance, and win a couple of games early and get going. But it remains to be seen. It's going to be a little difficult. You're going to see some rough hockey in the beginning without the preseason time for sure, and some injuries too.
True that. injuries are concerning. Well, if I've missed anybody with the hashtag BMGs, it's probably because you didn't use it, but I'm pretty sure I got everyone who used a hashtag or not.
Terrific.
So seriously, people, now are the questions, man. 10 days till Bruins hockey. We're in. We're ready.
Yeah, we're ready.
Sort of less angry, but probably won't be in the next 10 days, but we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm all in. Thank you very much for sending in your questions. And before we do this week in history, I just want to think, because we keep forgetting, USA plays Finland tomorrow in the semis of the World Juniors. So I don't want anyone to think we're unpatriotic. Go Team USA. And frankly, I hope the Russians beat Canada. Thank you. Moving on. Mark, Matt, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So this week in Bruins history.
Yes, I have a very interesting one that came out today. Took a screenshot of it, and I got to find that. On this day in 1994, January 2nd, so we're going back a day, Cam Neely's 3 goals helped the Boston Bruins beat the Washington Capitals 8-2. It gives him 26 goals in only 22 games, as he also becomes only the 4th of 5 Bs with 3 power play goals in a game. That's badass. Others, Bobby Bauer in 1947, Phil Esposito in 1967, Bobby Orr in 1973, and Dave the Power Play Andrechuk, 1999.
Wow. Cam Neely was, I know as an executive, this generation is grading him more on that, but I mean, what a player.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. What a
Unbelievable.
Player. And you definitely want to go for all your Bruins news to blackandgoldhockey.com. We have articles galore every single day coming out. Great team of writers, all your news, speculation, information. And now as the season is starting, you're going to get everything Bruins at blackandgoldhockey.com. So go there and click on all the fine little things on the right-hand margin, the sponsors and the Patreon and the giveaways and all those types of things. So do that. Go to blackandgoldhockey.com. Tell all your friends too, because they'll want to go there as well. And Mark has a new way to see him on video and social media streams everywhere.
Yes. We moved on from Sportscaster. It's a fantastic app. I will give them credit. They do a great job. It's an up and coming thing, but we're just consistently getting kicked out of the stream right around the 3-hour mark, and it's just very annoying to start up another one and share the whole stream with other social media outlets and platforms. So what we did was we found a website that works with us. It costs a little bit of money, but it's going to be me and some other people from B&G, but also in collaboration with the Dump and Change Hockey Podcast guys, preferably Nick and Jared. So, and possibly Nestor, if he can ever find time to do anything besides work and hang out with this woman. Yeah, it's a new thing. We're going to be broadcasting I think I get 6 areas that we can put the stream out to: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So we're going to be on all of those, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We can record we can go up to 8 hours. That's what the package Excellent. I paid for. So looking forward to that. That's going to start this week on Tuesday at right around 6 o'clock. So be on the socials. If you're following me, get yourself a heads up for that one. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. So it is time. I would drum roll, but I don't have any drums with me. But there you go. That was a weed whacker or something. I don't know what that was. But first 2 Patreon giveaways.
Yes.
Coming to 2 lucky winners.
Yes, we are giving away these fantastic calendars. These are it's something to do with Bruins every day. It's either a question or a fact or trivia or blah blah blah. So we're giving 2 of them away today. And I did the drawing earlier, and the winners of one of them is Chirpy Lockett. Thank you, Chirpy. Nice. And Chad McVean. Thank you very much, Chad. We're going to be sending those right out as soon as possible. Thank you very much. If you want to get involved in these Patreon giveaways, we're going to be doing a giveaway every week. We're going to be giving away a jersey every month. So it's just $1 per episode. Go to patreon.com/Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. donate just $1 to get involved with these folks. And we're getting the jerseys and a lot of our signed photos from Bruce Sullivan of Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia, who is now our partner and our mid-show advertiser. So we're really excited for this to be moving forward.
Great. Yeah, there's some great jerseys, some great autograph materials there, and some of the great players in Bruins history. So really happy to have that partnership with them. And congrats to our 2 winners. And that'll do it for episode 210. It is Bruins season.
So stoked.
Rate and review. Rate and review on the podcast.
Rate and review.
Yes.
Rate and review.
Subscribe and all that stuff.
Follow. We need more.
Share it. Send it to your friends. Everything. Rate and review.
Oh,
and that'll go ahead.
By the way, I cannot forget this. Heather shared an image with us last week, and on Charitable. Regardless if you think Charitable is spot on or not, our highest last week was 16.
Wow.
Spittin' Chicklets was number 1. Just saying. 16. In North America, hockey podcast related, 16 is nice.
16.
We're still in the top 100 too, just so you know. We made it through the week.
High.
Yeah, we go to 16, we go to 100, but every week we're just in that. We're not going any further.
That's really, really good. So we appreciate everybody listening.
Rate and review, listen, thank you, follow them, do everything. And I just want to say, regardless of how disgruntled I always am, I am ride or die with this fucking team, good, bad, or ugly, no matter how ugly it might get. And it might get ugly. We all need to brace ourselves for that. All of us, from whatever perspective we're taking. But no, although we feel like we're dying, we survived 2 cup losses in our last 10 years. So we'll be okay on the other side. Go Bruins.
I'll be there to walk you. I'll be there to coddle you off the edge, Heather.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week now.
Thank you. Be safe. Go Bees. Let's do this.
Thanks again for listening to and supporting Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Please share the show with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to and leave a 5-star rating for the show on your favorite podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Between shows, help us keep the Bruins talk going by visiting our website, blackandgoldhockey.com, by sending an email to blackandgoldhockeyblog@gmail.com, and by following the show on Twitter @blackandgoldpod.
Peace out.